Welcome to this edition of the Wispy Mob Music Acoustic Radio Podcast Series. I'm your host, Todd, middle initial C. Walker. Yes, that's right, it's me. And sitting next to me is a gentleman I have not seen in person for at least 6 years, Bill Sovitsky. And Bill was a regular at the Frederick Coffee Company Open Mic Series.
That's correct.
Playing finger-style Piedmont type of blues. And I don't know how we got back in touch recently, but I said, hey, would you like to be on the podcast?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was the Guitars for Vets thing.
That's what it was.
I reached out to you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now we just listened to you playing a guitar. What was the tune you played?
Well, I played a couple tunes there. One was Spike Driver Blues by Mississippi John Hurt. And then I played a song by Reverend Gary Davis, which now is going out of my memory.
That's okay. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
It's called aging.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to stop that, but it's not possible.
Well, we're going to intersperse some of the playing.
Okay.
We've just, those of you watching have already seen him and play the first one, and then we'll just kind of throw them in as we go, as we talk. But I expected you to bring your Martin guitar. And what did you bring with you?
Yeah, I brought a PRS that my brother actually gave me some advice to buy, because I wanted a travel guitar that I could take and not worry if it got beat up or, something happened to it. And my Martin OM, that's kind of my baby, and my wife gave me that, and she bought it downtown here when Bo Strings that's an interesting story, actually. I was in there playing it, and I'd been in there a few times talking to Bo, and didn't think I could afford it. And she had called me and said, hey, can you get home? And so I told her, I'm down here at the music store. And then she called Bo back right after that, and then went down and bought it for me and surprised me with it.
I remember the first time you played that at the coffee company, and you said it was a gift.
Yeah,
and
that's special to me. So that one kind of usually stays at home.
Now, I don't remember, what were you playing before that guitar?
I think I had I didn't have a Breedlove. I had a Larrivee.
Oh, okay.
I had a Larrivee 03, LV 03.
Now, do you still have that one?
No, I passed that on. I sold that to a woman. I went to Leesburg and met her, and she was buying it for her son. And she brought a friend of hers. He played it, and he loved it. And I was happy to pass it on to her for her son.
Now, remind me the model of the PRS. It's an SE something, right?
Yeah, yep, yeah,
or
sorry.
That's okay.
Yep.
But it's probably, either a double O or a single O shape?
Yes, that size, and it's got a pickup in it. It sounds real nice plugged in, so that's usually how I play that one.
And I would imagine that's mahogany back and sides?
Yes.
Okay, spruce top.
Yeah.
A little tough to tell when they color the tops like that to know what it is.
Yeah, I actually wanted to get the sunburst version, but I was going on a trip and I needed it quick, and this is the one they had making music up, and here in Frederick. That's the model they had, so I was like, okay, that's okay. It's my travel guitar.
Well, for the style of music you play, though, it works really well.
It does. I like it. I like the little bit of snap you can get out of it. When you snap the strings, it's kind of, got a nice vibe to it. And it's small, so it plays nice on the lap.
Now, what led you to play guitar in the first place?
Okay, that's an interesting story, too. So, first I grew up, my brother John, he played guitar. And when I was real young, I used to watch him and always admired that. Grew up listening to classic rock, and then kind of ran into Chet Atkins one day on TV, and man, that just blew me away, the fingerstyle. And I didn't realize a lot of that fingerstyle was on albums that I had. I'll give you an example, like Yes, like The Clap, That's actually Steve Howe's tribute to, he really loved Chet Atkins. And so, he's playing The Clap. This is years before, I ever even thought about playing a guitar. I love that song. And then I found out when I really started digging into Chet Atkins that Steve Howe was a huge fan, and I was a huge Yes fan when I was young. A lot of progressive rock. I like Yes, I like ELP, things like that. And so what happened was I was in the military, and I was at a school where they were teaching us leadership. And two people to a room, when you're in the military, you don't get your own room, especially as enlisted. But they wanted us to kind of go outside of our comfort zone while we were at this leadership school and try something different. And the guy that I was rooming with had a guitar with him. And I said, hey, how about we take this project on? They want us to do something different. You teach me, and I try to learn a little bit of guitar. And he said, well, I've really never taught anybody before, but this is me going out of my comfort zone. So he taught me a few chords. The funny thing is I get back from this school. It was a 6-week-long leadership school. I walk in the door and my wife goes, how was the school? I said, I want to go buy a guitar. So it was, that's how I got started. And then I was talking to my brother John soon after I bought a guitar, and I said, I want to learn to play like Chet Atkins. And he's like, why the hell are you trying to do that? It's like, just buy a pick, sing, and play a couple chords. And they're like, nope, I want to learn how to play this finger style. It just always really, what I've heard somebody say, tickled my ear. Mm-hmm. I always was just fascinated by it. And the thing that was really interesting is once I started learning about Chet and his history, and then I learned that a lot of this guitar playing came from black guitar players in the 20s and 30s, pre-electric blues. And that's when I ran into Mississippi John Hurt and people like that. And then that's what really got me hooked.
Well, let's listen to I think the Mississippi John Hurt was the tune you played second, wasn't it?
Right, Spike Driver Blues.
All right, so we're going to listen to that.
Okay, great.
How long have you known that tune?
That was one of the first finger-style tunes that I tried to learn. A lot of people would say, on YouTube, well, this is pretty accessible. And I think a lot of Mississippi John Hurt's music is very accessible. Is it easy if you've never played fingerstyle before? It's not. And it took me a long, long time to get a little bit of syncopation in there. I remember seeing Doc Watson talking about fingerstyle, or I don't know if I saw it or I just heard it maybe on the CD, and he says, well, it took me just a short period of time to learn the bass, and he was playing the bass to Deep River Blues. He's like, I got that real quick, but took me about 10 years so I could get that, melody note in there. So, and it just is it's difficult. And when you start, I started playing guitar when I was 35 years old.
Oh, so you did? You started late.
I started very late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I would have started at 7 or 8, because I think young people have a better ability to, pick up some of those skills quicker when they start early.
Well, I'm not the fingerstyle type of player like you are playing instrumentals. I will play fingerstyle, but I do it so that it's different than just strumming, so I can sing to it. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, some of the things I come up with, I just can't sing and do that at the same time. So,
right.
So they become these little 45-second things that I play.
Right. And I would say that playing and singing at the same time, not twice as hard, it's 10 times as hard. It's another syncopated part of what you're doing, and your mind is, I don't think our hands were made to do this, together, the thumb and the fingers.
Yeah.
And to play fingerstyle with that alternating bass on the thumb, and those fingers are out of sync with that thumb, and you have to be able to separate that. And millions of years of evolution didn't give us that right away. You got to work at it.
Well, when I decided I wanted to learn that alternating thumb, And I tried a little bit, and someone either gave me or I purchased a DVD instructional thing with Keb Mo.
Okay,
Of course,
yeah,
that's one of
I
the
like
things,
his music.
Yeah, and that's one of the things he's known for. And I was watching, and in the beginning, he says, I'm going to teach you how to play alternating thumb. And he says, just so you're aware, he says, it took me about 3 to 5 years before I got proficient at it. And I'm thinking, it took him 3 to 5 years?
Right, exactly.
So
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, from what I understand, the finger stylists back in the day in the 20s and 30s, they were trying to emulate piano players. Oh. And the piano player would play the bass, chunk bass, and then they would play the melody with the right hand underneath that, boom, chuck, boom, chuck. And they would play the melody with that right hand underneath it. And from what I understand, or what I've heard, is that a lot of the guitar players at the time that were starting this type of style were trying to emulate that piano sound. They wanted to sound like there was 2 players. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the open mics at the coffee company, a woman walked up to me after I played, and this is a woman that probably knew little or nothing about fingerstyle or the style I was playing, and she said, it sounded like there were 2 people playing there. And in my head, I was like, I'm not going to be able to get out the door. That really made me feel great, because you got to put a lot of time in, and it's nice when somebody says something, especially when you know that, they're really just hearing that and telling you something from their heart. That felt really good.
Well, in today's world of YouTube, and we're on YouTube, but with phones and everything, a lot of the youth think everything has to happen now.
Yes.
And I think it probably is a little difficult for some of them to get their head wrapped around, to hear somebody play guitar and go, I want to do that, and they get a guitar and it doesn't happen.
Yes.
And some of them just give it up because they don't have the patience maybe.
No, I think that's absolutely true. So I'm teaching a little bit of guitar to veterans, and that is one of the things that I tell them. This is a long game. This is not the short game. Enjoy the ride. Mm-hmm. Try to get better than you were yesterday. For a while when I first started playing, I was trying to play note for note exactly, and I was frustrating myself. And so, I finally figured out, look, I'm going to play what they play in the way I play it. And that's basically what they were doing a lot of times, is they were playing it their way. And they might have heard that song from someone or picked up bits and pieces of it, on the way. And they were playing it their way. And once I kind of started thinking, hey, I'm just going to play it my way. If I can't play it exactly like that player, which, when you're trying to play someone like Mississippi John Hurt or Reverend Gary Davis, you're not going to be able to play it exactly like them. These are legends.
Yeah.
And, you have to do it, cheat a little bit and do it your way and enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. That's, I think, really is what it's all about. And that's what I get out of guitar playing, is a lot of times I play only for myself, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, a lot of stress relief out of it. I get my own little zone, and, I play my thing. I do my thing.
Now, you mentioned you're teaching some veterans. How did you get started doing that?
Well, I stumbled across a site that was called Guitars for Vets. And I contacted a chapter down in Martinsburg and talked with the chapter lead and told them, well, I've never really taught anybody, and I'm not classically taught, or anything like that. I don't read music. And he said, no, that's not what it's all about. If you play and you're willing to give some time up for a veteran, it's about allowing them to use music to help heal some of those wounds from when they were in the service, and also the mentorship. And once I heard mentorship, I was hooked, because throughout my career, it's been my favorite thing to do, which is mentor younger people and, try to be the big brother or, the teacher. And so I got involved in it, and right now I'm teaching my second. Both of the gentlemen I've taught so far were both Marines, and they both got out of the service. and they had a little bit of a rough time adjusting back to civilian life. And, I'm trying to do the mentor thing and also give them a little bit of what I got from guitar, which is a lot of stress relief and enjoyment.
Now, you were in the service, and what has your career been? And has it always been related to the service or not?
Pretty much. I got in the United States Air Force in 1983, and I was an electronics technician. And then I ended up in the hospital working on medical equipment. And I spent 20 years in the Air Force, and I retired in 2003. And then I got a job at Fort Detrick, right here in Frederick, working for medical logistics agencies for the Army. So in the active duty, I was Air Force, but as a civilian employee of the military, I worked for the Army. And our job here at Fort Detrick was to field the Army's combat hospital. And as an electronics technician and someone that specialized in medical equipment, my job was to ensure that the medical equipment that we bought and fielded was able to be sustained on the battlefield.
Okay.
So you want that equipment to be ready when that soldier's injured, for that doctor, nurse, or technician to use that equipment to help bring that soldier home. And I was really passionate about that and loved my career. I spent 20 years as a civilian and just recently retired from 41 year total career.
And you're enjoying retirement.
I'm loving retirement.
Now, our mutual friend Hank.
Yes.
Did you two work in the same line?
We did. Yep. Hank and I worked together as a team. Hank is a clinician. He's a physician's assistant. And so he did the clinical part of looking at equipment and supplies and, everything you need to take care of soldiers on the battlefield. And then I looked at the sustainment. How are we going to maintain medical equipment in maybe a desert environment or in a jungle environment or in an Arctic environment? And what are everything we're going to need to ensure that medical equipment's ready when that soldier's injured and needs that medical equipment to be used.
So you must have traveled quite a bit.
I did. I was very fortunate in my career. I've traveled all over the world. I've been to every Army hospital in the world and all over the United States. And it was wonderful. My career, I have no regrets. The thing is, though, that the interesting thing is people told me, well, when you retire, it's going to be a huge transition for you. And, a lot of people, they don't do well when they retire. And I'm not finding it that way. Maybe because I have no regrets. I gave everything I could during my career. And, I think I was able to do some good things and help people and, leave a mark. And so I'm not looking back, I'm not yearning to go back to that part of my life. I want to move forward. I didn't look at retirement like I was leaving something. I looked at it from the viewpoint of moving into a new stage of life,
right?
And I want to spend more time with family, with friends, volunteering, and still being able to, give back. And then, having some downtime for some me time for me and my wife, Lisa, and some travel and grandkids and
guitars.
Guitars for sure.
And cameras.
And cameras. That's another hobby of mine.
Well, off camera, we talked about the camera, and you use Fuji equipment.
I do. Yep. Right now I have a Fuji X-T5. And recently, since I retired, I bought a telephoto lens. I used to be mainly a wide angle guy. I loved landscape photography, and I loved architectural photography and some industrial photography. And I got a bird feeder in the backyard and a bird bath, and I decided I'm going to buy a telephoto lens, and I'm going to try to see if I can get some pictures of some birds. And I've really, really enjoyed it. And now my wife calls me the bird man. I sit out back with a cup of coffee and my camera and listen to the birds, for a little bit in the morning. And I've just been loving it.
So first of all, what millimeter telephoto are you using? And how far from the feeder or the birds are you when you take those photos?
So I'm using a 70 to 300 and it's a Fuji lens. It's a really well paired with my XT5. I'm really shocked at how well it's matched to it. It's not the fastest telephoto lens in the world, so you wouldn't want to shoot sports with it.
Yeah.
But it's small, and I'll take it with me. You know, I've had some big, when I was shooting Nikon, you know, APS-C, you know, 70 to 300 lens, you know, is to lug that thing around. It was a beautiful lens, and it was 2.8 and everything, but I never took it anywhere because it's just too heavy and too inconvenient. So this is small, light. It's about the size of a, you know, 16-ounce beer can. That's how small it is. And, you know, they make some compromises, you know, when a lens is a little smaller. It's not quite as fast as f4, you know, but it's really well matched with the XT5. And I'm only maybe about 15 feet from the bird feeder.
Oh, so you're getting nice close-ups.
I'm getting some nice close-ups. I mean, you can see a lot of the detail in the feathers. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And my wife and I have taken a couple walks down at the C&O Canal, and I've got some beautiful pictures of some turtles and some other pictures down there that I've just been really happy with. And it's really sparking me back to get back into photography again. The way I am, I go back and forth with my hobbies. So like, I'm really into guitar and I'm playing all the time. And then, you know, I'm really into photography for a while, and I'm, you know, really digging that. And so, you know, over the years, I've kind of sort of gone back and forth with those two main hobbies, and but they're both still with me.
Well, I know some of the guitar players who are watching. They know which guitar you're playing, but they're going to be curious about what gauge string and which brand string you use.
Yeah. So I like to switch brands of strings. I do like Martin strings. I play some Martins. These are lights on here. Sometimes I'll put mediums on, you know, I have my Martin OM, and then I have a Larrivee Triple O. That's a 12 fret to the body guitar. And sometimes I'll put mediums on that, and I like to hear that. I like Diodario strings and Ernie Ball. You know, and also, like, with the types of strings, sometimes I'll like the, you know, 80-20 bronze, and sometimes I want to hear some phosphor bronze, and, you know, it just, like, for me, I like that change up sometimes. It's not always the same strings. Sometimes I'm just experimenting. I'll buy nickel or, you know, some odd, you know, type of string just to give it a shot, you know, and see what I can get out of it. Keeps it new and fresh. But one thing I never am disappointed with is whenever you change those strings and you're like, oh, there it is again.
Yeah.
You know, it's something about that with guitar, you know, and you learn over time, you know, oh, that, you know, those were dead, you know, and you hear that. Then, you know, I have hearing aids, but still, I can still hear that. And I just love that, you know, a nice set of strings on there. And that gives me, you know, a lot of enjoyment.
Well, you play with bare fingers, right?
Yes.
You don't?
Yeah, I've tried picks before, and, you know, I could play a little bit with picks, but I've never really felt real comfortable with them. A lot of times when I buy, like, a thumb pick, I'll file it down to really, really short. You know, because then it's almost like, you know, you're not feeling like you're floating out there, and you can't really feel where you are. That's kind of some of the experience I've had. And then, you know, I mean, like, one of my favorite finger pickers is Mississippi John Hurt. He never used picks. And listen to him. I mean, I'm like, hey, I'm doing my thing. And I have grown nails a little bit. Sometimes I'll play with nails and flesh, like a combination. But, you know, I don't have a problem just playing naked, you know?
It's the way I play.
Yeah.
Now, what's your next guitar purchase going to be? Do you have a guitar sitting out there that you're like, boy, I would love to own one of those?
Yeah. I mean, I see guitars, and, you know, I've had a little gas before, you know, guitar acquisition syndrome.
Yeah.
And, but nowadays, especially when I'm trying to stay married. So, you know, I'm going back and forth between the two hobbies because cameras and lenses are not cheap either.
No, they're not.
Yeah. So, you know, I have my Martin and I had my Breedlove, and now, you know, I have this travel guitar. So right now,
you're covered.
You know, yeah, I'm covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my brother has a Dana
Bourgeois.
Yeah. He actually knows Dana. They're friends from
really?
a long time ago. Yeah, they're friends. And
Good friend to have.
Yeah, yeah. He has an OM, one of Dana's OMs, and when I go down to my brother's house and I play that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to be in the will.
Well, on that note, thank you very much for sitting down with me and chatting.
No, thank you so much. Yeah,
because
it's a real big treat for me.
Well, in the open mic days, because I was running it, I would get my time socially with the performers were, do you need anything from me?
Yeah.
You know, are you going to use a direct box? What do you got there? Preamp or whatever. And so then I'd look out in the audience and you guys would be chatting quietly amongst yourselves, getting to know each other. So the reason I do the podcast is so I can get to know people more in depth. And this has been a lot of fun for me. Thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you for watching. And we're going to listen to another. What was the third thing you played? I don't remember.
That was just a blues. It's kind of based off of Mississippi John Hurt's song, but it's kind of my version of it. So it's not even close enough to really name, but it's just a little blues ditty that I like to play.
Okay, so it's the Sovitsky blues ditty.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you next time.